How often do you find yourself looking out the window and thinking about all the things you're hoping to do in life? You feel like you're just existing. All of us have dreams and goals. It's just that sometimes they get farther away and more deeply buried. The challenge is figuring out how to make that dream or goal a reality. Michelle McKinney, life coach and dream catcher, is here to talk about how to put one foot in front of the other, to make those dreams and goals come true, to thrive rather than just exist. I want to welcome Michelle McKinney. So good to have you here.
I am thrilled to be here. You got me want to sing.
Well, we could do that.
There we go.
So I'm so excited about many of the things that you're doing. So give me a little bit of your background, if you will.
Yeah, so my background is that I was an executive assistant for about 20 years. And so I work with senior executives at companies like American Express, Starbucks, Fannie Mae, and a nonprofit church for about 5 years. And so I had always been in that space. And the work that I did was helping them to not just get your coffee and schedule the appointments. That's important. That's the core work. But I carved out a niche for myself where it was like, I'll do all that, but tell me your bigger vision. Like, what is it that you want to see happen in your professional and your personal life? And so that really put me in a space of being able to kind of get a full run through of what they saw in terms of their business and their personal life, and figuring out how could I fit in with that and try to push their dreams out. So that's kind of what I've done.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So now it's taking you to here. So what do you call all that you do now?
Yes, so it has a funky little title. So the business is called Dreams Unleashed, and my title is founder and dream architect. And the question is often, what the heck is a dream architect? Tell me what it is that you are sensing. Tell me about your gifts. And based on all those things, let's figure out what is the bigger vision? What is the dream? What do you want to give back to the world?
At what point in time did you know that this was
the thing,
your strength? Yeah, and your thing. Yeah.
So for me, it was, how do I take the 20 years of working with senior executives and be able to bring that in a space to be able to help everyday women who often put their dreams and their visions and their passions on the back burner, because just by nature we nurture everybody else's dreams except our own, who don't feel like they know what's the next step or how do I go about doing it. And so that's how it all kind of came together. It was like, if we're going to do it, let's just do it.
If I were working with you, what would that look like?
Mm-hmm. So women come from different places, and there's a group of women who typically come because, like Michelle, I really don't know what my gifts are. I don't know what my purpose is. I really just don't know. And so for that woman, we're walking through understanding and defining what are your gifts. Once we have an understanding of what that is, it is then what we're going to do with it. And so understanding what her passions are, what problems she's looking to solve in the world, and be able to create what I call a sweet spot or your life purpose statement. And then from there, I kind of have her to dream. The other group of women that come, they are women who often have a business that is just starting or they're wanting to start. And they're like, I want to make sure that I am actually living out in a purposeful space and serving the people that I really believe that I'm called to serve. And I really want to understand those people more. So that's one space. But then there are other people who are business professionals. And it's like, I really want to think about my career path in a more intentional sort of way, as opposed to just keep climbing the corporate ladder or whatever that is, to be able to live a very purposeful life.
Let's just say the trajectory is just a little off. Mm-hmm. Do you work with those too?
Oh, of course we have. Everything about life is about an edit. Whether you're talking about editing your closet, editing your makeup stash, whatever it is, it's about editing. And the thing is that I think where we get hung up just in life period is that because, especially with social media, we look at other people and their life looks perfectly curated. Like they have always been doing this work in this almost, this really qualitative sort of way. And life is not like that. Life is about editing. It's about really putting yourself out there and saying, you know what, I don't know if this is it, but let me at least try it and see if it is. And if it's not, no harm, no foul. I can just reassess and just be able to move over a little bit more closer into the path that I feel like is my journey itself.
So how do you think people have responded to this when you're doing this?
They love it. And I say that from the standpoint of not just because I really believe I am exceptional at what I do. And I think it's important for you to be able to, I share this with women all the time, you need to be confident in the fact that, yeah, you kill it at whatever it is that you do. For me, when I say I kill it, it is from a confident space, but it's also from a humble space to say, look what God has put in me to do. And so that's what I feel about the work that I do, is that even if you didn't know that you really needed it, when you experience, it's like, this is what I was looking for. This is what I needed, in a very authentic sort of way. Someone who is going to hold me accountable, that is going to challenge me, but then also love me like a girlfriend, to say, look, you can do this. So it's been really, really, I think, a really, really great reception.
That is amazing. So I'm thinking about myself as you're talking here, I can't help it, and how my life pivoted a few years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And through that, there's all this in the background that helped me get to where I am, right? So it's a portfolio.
Yeah.
So how do you help people look at their lives as a portfolio?
I believe when it comes to your purpose, there's not this one thing that you're supposed to do. I think that there, as you say, I call it a portfolio. Being able to work with individuals to say, let's take, in terms of figuring out where you want to go, that's the destination over there. If you are, for example, using a GPS, the very first thing that you have to put in is your current location. And if you can assess where your current location is, but then add to that where I've been, it actually creates this beautiful tapestry that is part of your story. And so it's important to embrace all of where you've been. And the challenge is, for most of us, is that some of our life spaces that they've been really tough spaces. And sometimes you even want to forget where you've been. And so it's important to, as much as possible, be able to bring all of those experiences forward, because quite often the thing that is part of your past is the thing that also becomes part of your passion, And so because it is a part of your past and you experienced it in a really raw sort of way, that passion begins to ignite in you even more. And so when you see someone who is in the space that you remember you were in before, it's like, okay, how can I use my gifts and my passion so that they don't have to live the life that I had to go through? So that's how we are able to pull all of that forward, and in your words, use this portfolio of things of what we're supposed to do.
There's so many lessons that they're teachers, right?
Yeah.
Those hard things, they are teachers. And we don't want them at the time, at the moment. And I think the wisdom, the wisdom is to learn to embrace those hard things and realize, I've got 2 daughters who've been through some really hard things. And I always tell them, those hard things, you've experienced them young. Wow, you've got some incredible things that you're going to learn and be able to do as you grow older if you embrace those things as teachers in your world.
Yeah,
So,
I agree.
So how do you work with? I know you work with young women. So what is your goal for girls?
With children and with young people, my thought is, if we can get into a space to be able to take you right where you are before you start cultivating all the thoughts and fears that people want to project onto you, which are often adults who project the fear onto children, is that if we can create a really strong foundation right where you are, some of the work that we have to do as women and men, that correcting sort of work that we have to do for ourselves or someone works with us to do, we don't have to do as much of that. And so that work with girls, right now, like I said, in the space, it is working with organizations, or when people bring me out to speak to girls in that capacity, it's things like that.
So talk to me about existing versus thriving.
What can happen is that when we get into a rhythm of life, and you can get into a rhythm with life, with marriage, with your job, with a lot of things, and that to me is existing. It's sort of like putting your car on autopilot, right? And just letting the car drive itself. That's how we kind of let life just drive us. Whereas thriving is saying, you know what, I'm not going to be on autopilot. I'm not going to just let life happen to me. Thriving is saying, I'm going to be more intentional. I'm going to plan out, where is it that I want to be? Can I take a different route? Does it always have to be this exact same way that everybody has done it? No, it doesn't. In a thriving sort of capacity, you're looking for other opportunities, other ways to be able to connect, and other ways to be able to live out your life.
So when I listen to you, I'm like, okay, how did Michelle get here?
My story in how I grew up is that right about as I was turning 5, my mom passed away unexpectedly. She had a brain aneurysm. The devastation of it, along with, of course, being your mom, is that my dad was an alcoholic and he was also a Vietnam vet. And I think like a lot of people who end up going to war and you're in that capacity where you're trained a certain way, it doesn't excuse the behavior, but as I become an adult, I began to understand it a bit more. And so coming from that sort of war sort of space and then coming to a household with kids and a wife and all that kind of stuff and not having opportunities, sometimes you go to other things to be able to soothe the pain and figure life out. And for his outlet was alcohol, which led to him being abusive to my mom. That kind of trauma, it was devastating, but the way that I coped was that I just suppressed it. That was the kind of the way that I moved through life. It led to me even at 9 thinking about trying to figure out how to commit suicide because the pain was just a lot to deal with and I didn't have the skills as a child or just as a human being to figure out how do you cope when you lose somebody like that and then all of your life is kind of up-leveled. And so I became a performer. And the way that I performed was with really good grades because I felt like if I performed at a very high level, then I wouldn't be a burden to you. And so that took a toll on itself. And so I think for me, it was me being able to kind of put the mask on and move through life. But then I realized as I became an adult that that wasn't working for me. If you are at a place where you're that traumatized and that unhappy that you're considering taking your life, something has to shift. And so it was, I think, a decision of, am I going to stay in this space and potentially take my own life? Or what can I do? Who can I connect with to be able to live in a different sort of way? And so I think that's how, for me, the turn began to happen.
You see that translate directly into what you're doing now.
Yeah. As long as we are not walking and living out our purpose, somebody else is dying on the inside. So if I don't do this work, somebody else can come along and do it, but they can't do it like me because there's a way that I'll be able to connect to a certain woman, just like there are certain people that you'll be able to connect with that I can't. But when you show up, it's like, oh my gosh, she gets it. And that's because of your life experiences. So there is an urgency to me that each of us are in this space that we are even in the midst of all that we want in life, and wants are not a bad thing, but in terms of how does the world need you to show up and what is the most authentic space that you know that you can show up as well.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Tell us about the tools that you used.
One of the things that we do is called a vision board playbook. Typically what happens is people come together, there's a host or a hostess, and they bring poster boards and magazines and glue and scissors. Before we even cut out the first picture, let's take a step back from a coaching perspective and let's get clarity about what is it that you really want. So often the things that you really want to do, they get crowded out because you're saying yes to so many other people's needs and wants. So what we do in that strategy space is we say, of all the roles, I want you to choose your top 5 that you want to be very intentional about. After you choose the top 5, I ask, of those 5 roles, does any one of them have to do with self-care? If you don't have self-care on there, you have to add a 6th role that is self-care. What do you need for your own personal growth, both spiritually and physically, whatever that is? So then after self-care, the next role that I ask them is, do you have anything in there that has to do with seeking out your purpose or fulfilling your purpose? From there, what we do is we look at each one of those roles and I ask them to write a vision, a clear vision for every single one of those roles. Because then now we get intentional, not about what people's expectations are for our roles, but what do you really want from it? Once we do that work, how are you going to get it done? The specifics. Who's going to hold you accountable? When are you going to do it? What are the things that will sabotage you? Once we work through the strategy piece, now it's like, now let's get out the magazines and let's get out the pictures, because there's nothing magical in the pictures. Manifestation, I think, is important and it has its place, but I also think that strategy ranks well above it. There is no successful company that I know of that when you really find out, how did you guys grow to this space? They says, oh yeah, we got these great pictures up here and they keep us motivated every day. they're great because you can see them and it reminds you of where you're going. But those companies that are successful, it's like, yeah, no, we actually have a strategic plan of how we're going to unleash and release our resources, our people, and our time to be able to make this happen. So that's the work that we do with the Vision Board Playbooks, and I love them.
So how many times are you working with people that they may have had all that in place at some time, but something has happened to sabotage, and then they've got to reset.
Missing piece typically in that is accountability, which is why the very last question with the Vision Board Playbooks is who's going to hold you accountable? Who is the person that you can share transparently? This is the plan. This is the vision. This is what I really want. When we don't have that accountability in our life where we can show people this is what I want and then give them permission to check you and say, listen, that's not lining up, and not get mad about the fact that they're confronting you or carefronting you about it, I think that's what really helps us to continue in that space.
I'm very comfortable having a lot of people working with me towards that vision or goal. You know, I feel very much stronger in that space than anywhere else.
I agree. All of us do, because whether I am the administrative person, I got to have creative people on my team. If I'm the creative person, I got to have administrative people on my team. None of us are ever in a space where we don't need helpers. Every single one of us. And the idea of being able to have helpers, I think, is just something that we all, whether children or adults, we just really need to embrace that. It's actually great to get helpers.
The other thing that's difficult for me is when something's not working, and I know it's not working, and it's time to really say,
it's time to let it go.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
I've had people who are really good friends that are deciding to go into business together. Before I encourage them, before they start doing the thing, it's important to go in to talk to an attorney, for example, so that you know when to quit. Because if you don't make a determination, whether it's two friends going in together or you yourself, before you really get invested emotionally in it, you need to be able to, in a sound mind where you're not attached, say, listen, this is the kill switch. When this thing gets to a place where we are not growing and we've been trying it and we've been adding budget to it, at this level, when it gets to this place, I'm agreeing that it's probably time to kill at this point. Now, it doesn't mean that you don't, you can't adjust because maybe you learned something new about it, right? But if you can make those decisions before you get into the throes of it, it's no longer an emotional sacred cow anymore.
Such great advice.
I'm learning it myself.
And if we quit looking at the things that come up in our world that are tough, the tough things, as teachers, then we also, fall behind. And so it's just an important thing. So thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. It's been so much fun. We'll have to do it again.